Hello aspirants and welcome again to Legacy IAS Academy. In this video, we will be discussing about the two main conflicts and deciding which one is probably going to cause more disruption in the world. So first one is the conflict of USA. Remember, USA is involved everywhere and here also USA will be involved. So USA, Iran and USA, Venezuela. And we will see how this USA-Iranian conflict could be more consequential or could have more impact on the world than USA-Venezuelan conflict. So let us get started with the news. So the news is about the rising US-Iran tensions. Now, why these tensions are rising? First of all, why are the tensions and why are they rising? It has everything to do with the Iran's nuclear program. Now, see, a lot of countries want to nuclearize, right? When you have that hard power, that is when you can leverage that to get your things done for the rest of the from the rest of the countries in the world. That is what it has been perceived, as a result of which Iran also want to nuclearize. But then you have United States of America, who itself is nuclearized but does not want Iran to nuclearize. Now, what had been done previously with respect to this is that there was an Iran nuclear deal in place. Iran nuclear deal. Now, what is this deal all about? In this Iran nuclear deal, USA was also a part. See, nuclear energy can be used as weapon, can be weaponized, and nuclearization can take place for defense and military purposes. But the same nuclear energy can also be used for civilian energy security usage. So Iran wanted to develop nuclear energy for its security purposes, is what they said, as a result of which this Iran nuclear deal was struck, wherein Iran was allowed to have nuclear power, nuclear energy, but only for civilian use and not for the use of weapons. However, USA has walked away from that deal, claiming that behind the scenes, Iran is still nuclearizing its weapons. Now, when the conflict between Israel, or let's say the genocide, you may call it, right, however you may like to call it, when Israel was bombing the Gaza Strip, that's when Iran entered and started bombing Israel. But then USA entered and started bombing Iran. At that point of time, USA had bombed Iran's nuclear establishments, and USA claimed that Iran had 30% and beyond enriched uranium. Now, what is the significance of this number? See, when you want nuclear weapons, you need to have highly enriched uranium beyond 90%. But for civilian use, even 246% of nuclear enrichment, uranium enrichment, is more than enough. But now you are claiming that the uranium is enriched beyond 20-30%. That means it is way beyond the requirement for civilian use, as a result of which USA claimed that Iran is anyhow nuclearizing, and USA had already walked out of that deal and also bombed Iran's nuclear sites. Subsequent to which, Iran again was not deterred by it. Rather, Iran said that you have simply bombed our establishments, but the manner, the process, the procedure to nuclearize, we already know. So you have not stopped our nuclearization, you have simply delayed it. That is all. Now, that is why. So major reason is this nuclear program, which has led to increase in the tensions. Now, recently what has happened is USA had captured president of Venezuela, and the USA companies are entering Venezuela for crude oil extraction, production, and its subsequent sale, right? So there is tension between USA and Venezuela as well. However, the experts are saying that the Iran crisis are far more consequential than the crisis that is going on in Venezuela. So let us understand how. See, the oil market of the world is more sensitive to Iran tension rather than the Venezuelan tension. See, Iran also controls the great amount of routes, or not a great amount of route, but important route that basically supplies huge amount of crude oil. Case in point, the Strait of Hormuz, which is here. So this is the country Iran. Iran basically borders the Strait of Hormuz, and if Iran blocks this is Gulf of Oman, this is Persian Gulf, this is Iran, right? And here is your Strait of Hormuz. Now, why is it so important? To understand it's important, you need to look at it holistically on the world map. So where is the Strait of Hormuz? This is basically the Strait of Hormuz right here. And this here is your Iran, right? Now, when all these countries are producing the crude oil, they are using this space and subsequent places for the transportation of crude oil also. Even from here, remember, a lot of crude oil comes to India, we refine it and we send it back. So this becomes a very important trade route. Now, if this is blocked, then what happens? You have to take either this route, right, to go over here, or if Iran can possibly take alliances of a couple of countries and take care of the Suez Canal also, you then have to go through the Cape of Good Hope to transfer the crude oil that is there. So logically speaking, what will happen is, if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, which Iran is claiming to, then that will lead to a longer trade route, leading to delay in the crude oil, leading to disruption in the crude oil market. So if the blockade is brief, if the blockade is for small duration, there will be prices may spike temporarily but fall after the resolution. However, if it is not brief, it can lead to a longer delay and longer disruption. Now, the alternative supply can come from the OPEC's spare capacity. Spare capacity means a buffer capacity that is underutilized basically. So they can also increase the supply over here, right? But if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, then the disruption cannot be quickly replaced. Short-term shock which is there will be inevitable. In the long term, the situation might get better, but in the short term, the impact will definitely be inevitable. Now, let's see why Iran matters more than Venezuela. So, if you talk about oil reserves, right, this Iran has the third largest oil reserves globally. Venezuela's oil reserve is the largest. It's larger than Iran, but heavy crude oil. It has heavy crude oil. Crude oil are also of different types. There are heavy sour, heavy sweet. These kind of crude oils are there. Now, India, for example, buys crude oil from Russia, and Venezuelan crude oil will be a problem for us because it's heavy and sour, and our industries are calibrated to Russian crude oil. So that itself is an issue. Next, the oil quality. Conventional, low cost. Now, this is heavy, viscous and costly. Viscosity means the ease with which a fluid can flow. So this is highly viscous. Highly viscous means it does not flow very fluidly. High viscosity means low fluidity. Then you have the gas reserves. They have the second largest globally recognized gas reserves. Now here, limited global gas role is there for Venezuela. So if you combine the energy security in totality, Iran plays a bigger role if you combine the crude oil and the gas reserves. If you talk about geography, near Asia and Europe, this is far from Asian markets. So as a result of which plays a very important role in the Asian market and even in the European region. Now, what is USA's strategic objective? Now, USA is world's top oil and LNG producer. What it wants is favorable political order, right? It also claims that if Iran will abandon the nuclear path, then it has no problem with Iran producing as much as crude oil as possible, and the Western countries can also invest in the Iranian crude oil, is what Trump is saying. Currently, there is secondary sanctions on Iran. That means if anyone tries to trade with Iran, USA will impose tariffs on them. But still, there is a country which deals with Iran and buys the highest amount of crude oil from Iran, and that is China. China is currently the major buyer of Iranian crude oil. Now, USA is willing to allow the Western, their own companies into Iran if they give away their nuclear program. But USA is unwilling to let China dominate the West Asia energy space. It wants its involvement there, but it cannot move ahead if they are still nuclearizing. Now, what are the risks that are involved over here? So regime change risks and historical lessons are there for the world over here. The internal factors, the economic hardships, etc. is going on in Iran, so that is a big problem for them. And there is a situation like the 1953 coup can arise, wherein the US there was a US backed overthrow of the prime minister over here. And then again, what was done with Iran in 2003 can be done with what was done with Iraq in 2003 by USA can be done by USA to Iran as well. What did they do? They basically led their own military inside Iraq for a regime change, and they can possibly do the same with Iran as well, so leading to further disruption of the world's geopolitics. Thank you.